Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're going to trace the incredible journey of the American veteran and how their role has evolved to shape the entire nation.
So let's start with just a number, 31. Okay, kind of random, right? But stick with me because this number, well, it tells this incredible story about American leadership. So what's it all about?
That's right. 31 out of 45 American presidents were veterans before they ever set foot in the White House. Think about that for a second.
So that begs the question, right? How did military service become this almost default path to the nation's highest office? To really get that, we've got to go way, way back to the beginning. Okay, part one, the first citizen soldiers. We're talking about the shift from just local defense to real political action. And our story, it doesn't start with some big professional army. Nope, it starts with the colonial militia.
See, back in the early colonies, being in the militia wasn't a job you applied for. It was just what you did. It was a civic duty for pretty much every able-bodied man. And the whole point was simply to protect your own town from whatever was coming your way.
But here's the kicker, and this is super important. These guys weren't just soldiers. They were citizens, and they had real political power. And that power didn't just stay on the battlefield. Oh no, it moved into the political arena, and it happened fast.
And there's no better example of this than the 1689 Boston Revolt. Check this out. The royal governor, this guy Andros, he starts stripping power from the local governments. Then, word gets around that the king back in England has been overthrown. So what happens? The local militias don't just sit around. They mobilize, they surround the governor, and they kick him out of power, all without firing a single shot. That's a huge deal. It set a powerful precedent.
All right, let's jump forward a bit. Section 2, Organizing for Power. This is all about the rise of the veteran as a truly national force. Because after the Civil War, everything changed. Veterans started thinking way bigger than just their local towns.
And the real catalyst here was an organization called the Grand Army of the Republic, or the GAR. Now, it started off pretty simple, just a way for Union vets to get together, share stories, But it didn't stay that way for long. It morphed into an absolute political juggernaut.
Just look at this number, 410,000. At its absolute peak, the GAR had over 400,000 members. To put that into perspective, we're not just talking about a social club anymore. This was a massive, unified voting bloc the politicians simply could not afford to ignore. I mean, their influence was legendary. It even made its way into classic literature, like in John Steinbeck's East of Eden. This quote from the book says it all. "I can throw the Grand Army at any candidate like a sock." That's how much power they had. They could literally make or break a political career.
And they were not shy about using that power. They used it to get real, tangible benefits. Just look at the federal budget in 1896. A whopping 40% of the entire thing went to veteran pensions. 40%. That completely rewrote the relationship between the government and the people who served it.
Okay, Section 3, From Soldier to President. This new national influence really cemented an idea in the American mind, that military service was the ultimate credential for leadership.
Let's look at Ulysses S. Grant. You know him as Lincoln's top general, the guy known for his relentless and brilliant strategy. But listen to what he actually said. For him, war was never the goal, only a necessary and hopefully temporary means to achieve a lasting peace.
And you can totally see that mindset when he became president. The country was ripped apart after the Civil War, so he applied that general's logic. He understood that securing peace sometimes required decisive force. This shaped his entire approach to Reconstruction, where he used federal power to protect vulnerable citizens and enforce the new laws of the land.
Okay, let's fast forward a few decades to Harry S. Truman. He was an artillery captain in World War I, and he was super clear about the connection. He flat out said, "My whole political career is based on my war service and war associates."
And his experience as an artillery captain, responsible for the lives of his men, it translated directly to his decisive no-nonsense leadership style in the White House. You see it in the Marshall Plan to rebuild Europe, and you see it when he took the bold step to desegregate the very military he had served in.
And then, of course, there's Dwight D. Eisenhower, the Supreme Commander of Allied Forces in World War II, a 5-star general. But just listen to his perspective on war.
Now, this is what's so fascinating about Ike. He embodies this amazing paradox. Here was a 5-star general, a supreme Allied commander, who used his presidency not to expand military power, but to end a war, and famously cautioned the nation against the growing influence of what he called the military-industrial complex.
So, what does this all mean? What does this journey from a local militia
all the way to the modern presidency really tell us?
Well, it shows a really clear progression, doesn't it? The American veteran hasn't just fought the nation's wars, they have been a central force in shaping its politics, its society, and its very definition of leadership.
And all of this history leaves us with a really critical question for today. As the nature of conflict in public life keeps evolving, what does service even mean now? And how will our answer to that question shape the leaders of tomorrow?